Chapter 23 of the Wise Enchanter. "What is it then?" Lauren asked, and they all turned to look ahead of them. "The sea," Rukmini called out at the top of her lungs. "I see the sea." Evening was beginning to descend, and the smell of the briny air brought memories of sailing to the children's minds. But now they could not make themselves warm. The air coming off the water bit into their cheeks and made them numb. The sky grew dark, so that soon the only things the children could see were the white froth on the waves' edges and a sad full moon that peeped hesitantly now and then from behind the racing grim clouds. Rukmini was uneasy. All the underlings had hidden themselves so well now that none were to be seen. The children were weary. The only person wide awake was the dormouse, full of energy of a brand new day and ready to organize everybody. "No time to waste," he said efficiently. "We must get down to the beach. If we find our boat, we must set sail tonight, with or without the sea monster. The only way to the castle of the Wise Enchanter is across the water. Time is running out. We must go." "Yes, dear Dormouse," sighed Lauren, "but have a heart. We've just had a full day of adventuring and need a moment to gather our strength." Yes, I see," said the Dormouse, not seeing. "It's getting late, though. We must hurry." The children climbed down grassy, sandy banks until they stood on a beach that reminded them of something. "I know," Lauren said eagerly. "This looks like the place where we left the Prince of the Purple Palace. Only," she added, "there's no trace of our having been here." She paused. "Maybe it isn't the same spot after all," she concluded glumly. Far down the beach and heading toward the shore, a little boat bobbed about on the dark waters. It was wandering in a certain direction, and it certainly wasn't alone. Beneath the green waves lived many beings, and some of them were kind and good. Gentle hands now tugged and pushed and guided until the vessel, once floating aimlessly and empty in the waves that had almost swallowed it, ran aground. The bottom scraped roughly against the sand in the moonlight. The noise startled the four children waiting on the beach. I wonder if it was the sea sprite that brought their boat back to them. "What's that?" Rukmini gasped. "Something's there, look," Sifo whispered. For a while no one was sure whether to go toward the oblong shadow on the beach or run quickly away from it. When they saw that it didn't move, and when they noticed by its shape that it had neither legs nor head, they stepped gingerly toward it. "I do declare," the Dormouse announced, "that our long-lost boat has at last been found." "It is the boat," Michael called, and tired though he was, he leapt across the sand until he reached it. He grabbed the boat with both hands and hugged it as though it were some dear old friend. With cries of delight, Lauren and Rukmini danced over to the boat and then around it, inspecting it, touching it, running their hands over the wood. "It's in good shape," Michael announced. "Sail's a bit tatty," Rukmini said, "but we can fix that." "I stitch," said the underling on Michael's shoulder, loud enough that everyone could hear. "If you have a needle and thread, I can do it." Yes, the children did have a needle and thread, and even though night had fallen and the wind blew, the sea was restless. The children worked industriously and courageously to get their boat fixed and fit for travel. The underlings helped. One could stitch rapidly with a needle as big as she was. The other could seal small cracks and holes that no one else could see. And the Dormouse watched and repeatedly urged everyone to hurry. The wind blew harder. "Hurry up, the Dormouse chanted nervously. "We don't want anything to catch up with us. Let's go." Waves crashed along the shore, grinding the sand down, finer, and drowning out all the children's voices. "I don't think we should set sail now," Rukmini shouted into the wind. "It's too wild." The wind whipped the sea into a frenzy. Waves thundered down. "The boat won't make it in this weather." It was wintry and wet. From time to time rain fell from the sky. Then all at once the wind wiped the clouds from the moon. A wild wave welled up from the deep, washed by silvery moonlight. Lauren watched the wave, willing it to break far from them, wishing that it wouldn't be anything like the wave that had first sent them rushing fearfully away from the beach. Then an amazing thing happened. As she stood there, stunned by what she saw, the wave itself became a form. It was a sign, a symbol to be read for those who had eyes to see. And only Lauren saw it. The wild wave is a W, she whispered to herself. It must mean we can sail. No matter how dangerous it might seem, we're still finding the symbols we need. Wait, she shouted to her friends who were busily tying up the sail and pulling the boat away from the sea. Wait, she called with all her might above the wind, as the wave finally broke and came crashing down on the shore. We can brave these waves. Lauren took the magic heavy book onto her lap, with Michael standing over it and protecting it from the now and again night rain. Lauren drew a big, wild, wavy W. The page looked wet and bright, though it remained, in fact, quite dry. And then, heartened by the discovery of another precious symbol, the children decided that they would indeed brave the wild waters of the night. The dormouse gave instructions, the underlings hid, and the children began to push the boat toward the thundering surf. Ubusika ufikile, shouted Sifo as his feet touched the water. What does that mean? Rukmini shouted back. Winter is here, Sifo yelled. What language is that? Rukmini called out loudly. She closed her eyes against the cold, wet wind and jumped into the boat as it made it over the first wave. I'm not sure what language that is that Michael or Sifo is using. I guess we'll find that out. But here is the letter W. You might have to really look at this one to get that. It's kind of down, up, down, up. Quite a wave. I wouldn't want to see one of those on the beach. And we are going to move on to chapter 24.